Good morning to everybody. How you doing? Up as well. Keep up the beautiful work. Be'ezrat Hashem Yitbarach V'Yitramam. Today is Wednesday. Buy one, get one free. Parashat Hukat. Be'ezrat Hashem Yitbarach. It's a little rainy. It's a little misty, but rain is good. We need beracha in our lives. We have beracha with having each other. We have beracha from the Torah. And our Torah learning and the unity, Be'ezrat Hashem, will help the hostages. Shema Yisrael, look how long it is. They're worried about the elephants in Ringling Brothers Circus, but they're not worried about hostages in captivity all this time. Shema Yisrael. Uli, if we would have said there's a cat in captivity in Gaza together with the hostages, they would have went in there with blazing saddles. How you doing? We need the hostages home. We need the soldiers home. We need Am Yisrael to feel good. Be'ezrat Hashem Yitbarach, and only Besorot Tovot, Yeshuot, V'nehamot. Today's class is dedicated to the Refuah shelemah of Gabriel Ben Farida, a kidney donor yesterday, a dear friend of our community, Shabbat Shemo La'ad, and also for Shoshana Bat Esther and Yaakov Shlomo Ben Farida, Sorot Tovot, Yeshuot Ben Hamod, Batya Chaya Bat, and all those that need Refuah shelemah. We are in the subject of Kivisa Milaben. We mentioned the other day that after we finished all of the creating the dyes and the planting and the plowing and the harvesting, etc., now we go to a new section in the 39 Melachot, and that is to make the material in order to dye the material. So we spoke about yesterday gozers, shearing wool from an animal, and we said it doesn't necessarily only mean while the animal's alive. We said if someone has a fur coat, be careful with pulling out the things on purpose, any of the hairs, etc., because it is a problem of gozers on Shabbat. Well, after we have the subject of gozers, of shearing, we have the subject of bleaching. They used to take the wool and bleach it in order to clean it, and that's called milaben, and that is prohibited on Shabbat from the Torah. What's the measurement of all these material items? The answer is, if it would be every melechet Shabbat, every one of the melachot Shabbat has a measurement, even carrying, even cooking, etc. Well, all the things when it comes to material it's prohibited if you make a string, if you have a string that's 4 tefachim, so over here it's not making the string, over here it would be bleaching the string, so it's really a tiny spot that would be prohibited on Shabbat Kodesh. So we spoke about laundry on Shabbat. If someone gets a grape juice stain on Shabbat, etc., of all those things you're not allowed to do on Shabbat. It's brought down, believe it or not, that if a person has a new, so this only applies if it's a new garment and it's black garment. Any other garment, it doesn't apply. So it doesn't happen that frequently, but hey, you buy a black suit and it's new, and you walk into shul in the summer, and now it starts to rain. It's sunny one second, gets rainy the next second, and now you have water on your brand new suit. If you shake it off, believe it or not, it's brought down that it's a concept of doing laundry on Shabbat, and that's prohibited to do, whether it be from the dew, whether it be from the rain, it's prohibited. But if it's not a new garment, or if it's not black, then it's not a problem to shake on Shabbat, even if it is brand new. So you have all that criteria in order to shake it off. That would be prohibited. What's the law with snow? If it snows, like you saw the other day, it was 100 degrees, and someone sent out a text, thank God it didn't snow today, because imagine shoveling in this heat. How you doing? But anyway, back to our subject. If snow falls on your garment and it's black and it's new, right? Are you allowed to shake it off? The answer is yes. Why? Because that's not like laundry. Rain or dew, which is water, that is like laundry. But snow has the law of like a feather. If someone has a feather that's on their jacket or their whatever it might be that they're wearing on Shabbat, of course, you're allowed to pull it off. Not only that, but if the feather stem got stuck into the garment that you're wearing and you want to pull it out, that's also not a problem on Shabbat. So as long as the snowflakes are semi-whole, you're allowed to shake it off because it's like shaking off a feather. But if they melted and got it turned into water, then it's a problem, just like it is to shake off rain and dew on a brand new black garment. There are people that are strict when it comes to dust. That you're not allowed to wipe it off on Shabbat. Of course, we know one time a wife told the husband, maybe help me out a little. How about you vacuum? He says, are you kidding? I'm never going to vacuum. She said, why not? Because the rabbi in shul said, we came from dust. We're turning to dust. He says, I don't know if that dust is a cousin of mine. I'm just going to leave it. But anyway, are you allowed to wipe off dust and shake off dust on Shabbat? And the answer is Ashkenaz are stricter than Sephardic. Sephardi, Maran Shulchan Aruch says, no problem. You're allowed to wipe off dust on Shabbat from a hat, from a suit, etc. No problem at all. Even with a dust brush. I don't know if they still have those lint brushes or those kind of brushes, but if you do have one of those kind of brushes to take off your dust from a jacket or a hat, you are allowed to on Shabbat, even from shoes. Of course, you're allowed to take off the dust on Shabbat. So that makes life a little easier because there are some people who are strict, and when they're strict and they're following their halakha, then we have to, everybody follows the halakha. They're doing the correct thing. There's never a difference in heaven for different people. If they follow their custom, we follow our custom, etc. Believe it or not, there was a whole fiasco in Europe many years ago regarding eating goose liver for all those foodies that are out there, fargois as they call it, right? I'm just good with the good old knish without the goose liver. But long story short, in the old days, because it was a commodity, even today it is a commodity in certain places, but it was a hashuv item, and there were some rabbis that forbade it, and some rabbis that said it's allowed. Why? If it comes from a goose and a goose is kosher and you slaughter it properly, as ma'abaya, what's the problem? And the answer is because everything at the end of the day turns into money. Believe it or not, we don't follow this, and most rabbis in the world do not follow it, but there are a handful of rabbis in the world that don't eat chicken today. Not because the chicken crossed the road, but because today the chicken is not what it used to be. Today, because it's mass produced, so they start playing with the DNA. They have 20. There's one slaughterhouse I once visited in Israel. They slaughter 21,000 chickens a day. Imagine, just by walking by the place, you have to wait 6 hours because you're meated, even if you didn't eat anything. So now there's so many chickens. It's a production. It's mass production. So where are they going to store all these chickens? So they started making shells. Now, good old chicken from the old days was pretty big and tall. But today, if it's just for holy schnitzel purposes and schnitzy purposes, or the green chickpea purposes, so then it's about business, and business is business. So therefore, they started playing around, mutilating the DNA, and they started making it a little shorter. They started making it a little this, a little that. And at the end of the day, some want to say that that's not the original chicken, believe it or not. So some people don't eat chicken nowadays. Now, of course, all the rabbis we hold follow and eat the chicken, etc. But back to our subject, there was a whole fiasco regarding goose liver in a town in Europe many years ago, about 150 years ago. And the problem was, because it's all about business, so now they want, the bigger the goose and the fatter it is, the better the liver is. So they used to sit there stuffing the face like the chocolate cake in some of the orphanages in the old movies many years ago, and they're stuffing the duck. The fatter it gets, the better it is. But now the problem is when you stuff the goose with all the goods, it might make a hole in the esophagus, and that's a problem. They used to take a spoon and shove it in, and it could make a hole. And if there's a hole in any part of the animal, it's what we call a terefa. That's what the whole concept of glat came into effect. Glat means smooth, that the lungs of an animal are smooth, even though that's a Yiddish word. How I used to say halak, but in the later years, people didn't understand what halak was, so he started to say glat as well. Even the word parv, there was a time that he did not say it. It came from a Yiddish word, and Hamadia was saying not meat, not dairy, and the people who aren't the sharpest tool in the shed couldn't figure out what he was saying, so he started saying parv. But anyway, back to our subject. If there's a hole in the animal, it's not kosher. So one rabbi said you can't have goose liver because they're stuffing the mouth and it becomes not kosher. And another rabbi allowed it. All the students of the rabbi that allowed it ate it. All the students of the rabbi that did not allow it did not eat it. Now, someone gets up and says, hello, we're worried if there's a hole or not a hole. Why don't we put it to the test? Let's get 20 geese. This side will slaughter 10. This side will slaughter 10, and we'll see what the halacha is, and we'll see what happens. Is there a hole or is there not? And believe it or not, the rabbi that permitted it, they slaughtered all the geese, and all of the lungs and all of the esophaguses and everything in there was smooth and no holes. And the rabbi that prohibited it, in all of the geese that they slaughtered, there were holes. What's the point? When a rabbi gives a halacha, it's not just heke, he's saying, he believes that's the halacha, and in heaven, that's the halacha for him and his followers. So if one rabbi says yay and one rabbi says nay, the followers of each one are correct. There's no mahloket. Elu ve'elu divrei Elokim hayim. So there are some people that might walk around with dust on Shabbat, and somebody might say, wipe it off, and he says, we hold you're not allowed to. But somebody might say, that's not kavod Shabbat. How do you walk around with dust? It's not proper, right? If there's a goy that's around that could take it off in a kosher manner, then it's allowed even for them. But if not, so some people want to say that exactly is a badge of honor on Shabbat, that I'm not allowed to dust it off, so I'm keeping Shabbat. So I'm showing that here I am, I have dust on me, and it's a badge of honor when it comes to those who hold that you're not allowed to take off dust. So like we said, all each to their own, but according to Sephardic tradition, Maran Shulchan Aruch and Hamadia tells us you are allowed to wipe off dust even with a dust brush. Can someone take mud off of their clothing if it's raining outside and they're walking and they get some mud on their pants or something of the like? So the rule is you can't sit there putting water or a wet garment and scrubbing it out if it got absorbed inside of the material. But if it's on the outside of the material, then technically you're allowed, but you're not allowed from the outside. You are allowed from the inside of the garment to take your 2 fingers and rub it, and that is allowed according to halakha. There's also no problem with grinding on Shabbat, because we mentioned a few weeks ago that there's no problem of grinding something that was already ground, and dust was already, pun intended, I guess, dust from the ground. Dirt was all particles, is all granules of dirt, and therefore it was already ground. And therefore, if it gets harder and together with water, and then you grind it again, it's not a problem on Shabbat. What's the law if somebody couldn't help it? If somebody tells him he has a grape juice stain on his shirt or whatever it might be, and he wants to take a towel and scrub it out, and they tell him you're not really allowed to, right? When we always say when we reprimand, we do it in a soft way, not in a yelling way, and not in a degrading way. We make them feel good, and we say, according to the halakha, anyway, you look handsome, even with a grape juice stain on your shirt, whatever it is, you tell them, and now let's say it's a guy from Wisconsin and he still wants to do it, so he really did it on purpose. And then afterwards, he regrets it. What's the law? Or if someone, I don't know if they still have Woolite, but we grew up with the Woolite commercials. They fill up the sink with water, put the little Woolite, and then throw the sweater or whatever it is. So someone did straight out laundry on Shabbat. the rule is when you do something on Shabbat on purpose, you're not allowed to have benefit forever and ever, believe it or not. So now, does that mean you can never wear the garment again? So this is the rule. You're not allowed to have benefit from that washing. But after Shabbat, if someone wants to wear it, he doesn't want to throw out that shirt. He takes the shirt, he dips it in mud, and now he re-washes it. Or even without dipping it in mud, you rewash it. So now you're not benefiting from that wash that you did on Shabbat. You're really benefiting from the new one, and therefore you're allowed to. If someone would make a garment on purpose, sitting crocheting the sweater, and they know they're not allowed, then you could never ever wear that garment, believe it or not. But we don't know from anybody that would ever do something on purpose on Shabbat anyway. Because this concept of doing laundry on Shabbat is prohibited from the Torah, it's not a sketch. Therefore, the rabbis came along and prohibited certain things because of what we call marit ayin. Marit ayin, we don't want someone to see and think, well, we did something. Now, that's a whole subject in itself. Not every single thing is prohibited because of marit ayin. But over here, especially if they have the little kids going in the pool, so they have 1,000 towels all over the place and they're all wet. Are you allowed to hang them on those? You didn't do laundry, but are you allowed now to hang them on those portable items with the strings on them, or hang them in a way where you usually hang up the clean laundry to dry? Are you allowed to hang those wet towels on Shabbat? And the answer is, believe it or not, no, because then it looks like that a person did laundry on Shabbat. So we have to be careful with that as well. If it's a very wet towel, also, you're not allowed to move it because you might come to squeeze it. But if you do it in a way that's different than the usual, then we're not afraid you're going to squeeze it. For example, if there's a wet towel, then you tell your wife to pick it up together with you or something of the like. This way, now that you're doing it in a different manner, we're not afraid that you're going to squeeze it on Shabbat. Now, we did mention in the laws of cooking that if you have a wet scarf or a wet hat or whatever it is, gloves in the winter, and you want to dry them out, you want to put it next to a heater, you're not allowed to because it's cooking on Shabbat, but you're allowed to tell a goy to do it. You can't tell a goy to cook for you, but you can tell a goy to do this because over there, it's davar she'eno mitkaven. You're not looking to cook the water that's in there. You're just looking to dry it. And Batya says it's allowed to tell a goy to do something like that for you. It also applies in the winter. If someone got sopping wet and they want to put it near a dryer that's on, or maybe not far from a blech, whatever it is, just be careful. Of course, you are allowed to tell a goy to do it for you. After the subject of milaben, of cleaning, of bleaching, the next melacha is dyeing. Not, God forbid, right? Not that corny joke. Why is there a fence around the cemetery? Because people are dying to get in. Shema Israel, Hashem shall watch us all, and only good things. But to dye a garment, to add color to it, is one of the melachot. And we said this, all this that we learned builds up to this, that they used to dye items in the Mishkan. You're not allowed to dye garments on Shabbat. And the measurement for this item also is one string that's 4 tefachim long, about 12 inches. That would be prohibited from the Torah on Shabbat. But it's only a problem if you're doing it that it should last. If someone takes a dry erase marker, let's say, and writes, it's not a sin from the Torah, it's a sin from the Chachamim, but it's not a sin from the Torah because it's not something that's going to last. But if someone decides that they want to paint their house or something of the like, you're so not allowed to, like we said, because it's prohibited. It's the melacha of dyeing, of coloring on Shabbat. Now, number one, let's say someone wants to polish their shoes on Shabbat. That's a problem, of course, and it would be prohibited from the Torah. But if the shoes are already polished and they're already clean, but you have some people that want to shine them so much that you could end up using your shoe as a mirror to brush your hair, etc. So it's not prohibited from the Torah, but it is prohibited from the Chachamim since it's already dyed. But if there are spots that turn white already and you want to dye those shoes, that would be prohibited from the Torah, not from the Chachamim, which is very serious. We know women are not allowed to put on makeup on Shabbat. Right? Anyway, we all tell our wives they look beautiful anyway. They don't need, of course, any makeup. But in this category is a problem of tzovea, of using, of dyeing and coloring on Shabbat. However, their lipstick or all of that of the above, you're not allowed to. So you could save a few dollars with the kids with the Sephora. God bless. Every little item Sephora is $999. God bless. Yishtabach Shemo La'ad. But anyway, short story long, they're not allowed to use real makeup on Shabbat, but they do make Shabbat makeup. Why? Because the rabbi says blush is allowed because it's a powder. A powder doesn't last. Now, makeup, even though it's prohibited, it's not prohibited from the Torah, because at the end of the day, it's not like painting a piece of wood, not painting a wall. It's not going to last forever, even though you're doing it to last, but it doesn't last forever, right? It's going to wear off, etc. When they drink their coffee, there's 900 stains on every coffee cup from all the lipstick, etc. So it comes off, and since it comes off, it's not prohibited from the Torah, but it is prohibited from the Chachamim. And when it doesn't really last at all and get absorbed in the body, then the rabbi says that's allowed initially on Shabbat. So powder is allowed, and therefore they started making Kool-Aid style powder for the lips or for all of the above. And the rabbi says that's allowed. Now, when we were kids, the old grandmas, they didn't believe in all the makeups. They just had one lipstick in their pocketbook and they would put it on their lips, but then they would put it on their face and just rub it in for the blush. God bless the old timers. Those were the old time grandmas that by the bar mitzvahs and weddings, they sat by the table with a bulletproof bag under the table, and all the envelopes went into those bags, the same kind of grandmas. But anyway, we should always have good memories and good everything. Yishtabach Shemo. Now, when it comes to lipstick and certain makeups, it's not only a problem of dyeing, of coloring on Shabbat, but we also are going to learn about a melacha, which is called mimareach, smearing. You're not allowed to smear on Shabbat. That's why you can't put chapstick on Shabbat, even if it doesn't have any color, because that's prohibited as well. But we will give more details on the subject. For now, we'll stop here. I hope everyone has the greatest day. Keep up the excellent work. Good things always. Bravo to everyone. The Sorot Tovot. May Am Yisrael hear good news today and every day. Be'ezrat Hashem. Amen. Take care. Bye.